Alright, I'm really excited to record with the best new common from the Lord of the Rings set. Let's take a look, see what it is, and I'm sure it's gonna be elf bread? You're telling me the best card in the set is elf bread? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we're gonna be playing some Pauper. But the first thing that I want to do is kind of address the format as it stands now. Pauper kind of has two different pieces of drama associated with it, and I'm going to give you a super shortened version. Number one, a lot of players are unhappy about the play patterns of Pauper despite the deck being competitively balanced. In particular, a lot of anger is being directed at the mono red deck, which, despite the fact that it's not a particularly strong deck, will absolutely run over a lot of decks, and it's just absolutely everywhere in leagues, and people are kind of tired of playing against that, and maybe tired of playing against Affinity, which has been, one of the top dogs for eons at this point. Now, number two is that Pauper on Magic Online specifically is going to have a pretty major change. Most formats have a essentially $10 entry fee. 100 play points, 10 ticks, however you want to think of it. And Pauper is about to reduce that to 60 play points or 6 ticks instead, with the idea being that it makes the format more accessible, but it's cheaper, so it's cheaper to enter. But the downside of this is the people who are grinding these formats, the regulars who are playing this all the time, are now going to make less from playing Pauper. So that's kind of where we're entering today's video. Pauper discourse is a thing right now. And if you want to kind of hear some nice rational thoughts about it, I recommend following Alex Ullman at Nerd to the Core on Twitter. He's done some nice little write-ups about everything that's going on here. So Colin gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list to play whatever I wanted in Pauper. And I kind of said to myself, I'm going to pick one of the top decks from the Pauper Gettin event, and I'm going to play that. And one of the top decks that I was looking at is just like not viable on Magic Online because it's too many clicks. It's a deck that tries to kind of go infinite with a Golem Foundry and loop a bunch of artifacts like Lembas. And while that sounds fun, it's just too many clicks to just be pleasant to play or to watch. So instead, I went with the deck that kind of stole my heart, and that's this mono black gardens deck list that you see here. I'm just going to kind of throw the whole thing up on the screen for a second, and then I'm going to zoom in on some individual cards that I really want to talk about. For those of you who have followed Pauper for a long time, you know that Crypt Rats was a card that really was central to mono black control deck lists. Crypt Rats was a sweeper that you could play out so that it could dodge discard. Sometimes it wouldn't blow up all of your stuff. And in a format like Pauper, it's really hard to come by a board wipe, especially one that's relatively mana efficient. And Crypt Rats was strong for a very long time. So when I saw that there was a mono black, well, okay, it's got some green cards in there, but this is like a mono black deck at heart. When I saw that there was effectively a mono black deck that was viable again, I got really excited. This deck is going to utilize a couple different sources of card advantage. Number one being the Monarch here, which we know from Legacy play is really strong. And number two is the initiative. And as a reminder, a huge number of the initiative cards ended up getting themselves banned in Pauper. So yeah, that's a thing. A few copies of cards remain. The problem with initiative in Pauper is more a problem of density and consistency than it is the mechanic itself. And we're not even going to max out on 4 copies of this bad boy here. So putting the whole thing together now, we have a very light green splash in this deck list for a little bit of card advantage and some endgame. But generally speaking, we are looking to play incredibly efficient removal spells like Snuff Out and Cast Down. And yes, 2 mana still counts as efficient in this format, because a lot of the things that occur at a lower mana cost than that are a little bit situational. We're hoping to get a large number of 2-for-1s with our creatures, and as the game goes incredibly long, we are going to bring some things like Crypt Rats back via Blood Fountain. And I don't know if you've seen this play pattern before, but it's pretty demoralizing to get board wiped, rebuild, and then the Crypt Rats comes back to blow up everything a second time. It is particularly brutal. Yeah, so we have a little bit of land destruction in the sideboard. We have a little bit of life gain, some ability to mess around with artifacts in various ways. This is a really solid looking deck list. This was a top 16 from Pauper Garden, and I'm excited to get into the league. The last couple of times I've played Pauper, I haven't enjoyed it. This deck is my jam. You know, if this is good, I will be happy. If it's only okay, I'll be happy. If I die to mono red 5 rounds in a row, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Didn't think this bit through, but I'm gonna do something crazy. All right. If you have any thoughts about the Pauper format right now, I legitimately would love to see those down in the comments below. I've kind of been passively keeping an eye on the format, trying to figure out when I wanted to play it again. But yeah, let's elf bread. Okay, sorry, one last thing. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com as well as coolstuffinc.com. And if you end up wanting to buy any of these cards or other ones, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. Okay, now let's battle. Okay, round 1 here. This opening hand I don't think has enough mana. I don't think I can keep a 1-lander here. This is totally fine. And here I don't have current heuristics to know what I should throw back. I think I'm going to keep my mana. And I think I'm going to keep a varied selection of tools and get rid of 1 Crypt Rats. But I don't have a full feel for, like, which one of those is correct based on what I should be expecting from the format. I'm going to drop a garden here. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the deck tech. This deck tends to be called Black Garden because of Khalni Garden in what is otherwise largely a mono black shell. Okay, I don't know what my opponent is doing, but it feels unfair. I probably want to have removal up for this turn. I wish I could just play out a creature here, because it feels like my opponent's like gonna drop an initiative card on me or something. Like, these lands are certainly not fair. I don't know exactly. I've been on a couple month hiatus from Pauper and had Prism. Proliferate? Excuse me? Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. I have figured out where this is going. I know how I'm going to die. All right, understood. I need to find a threat. It is a threat. So I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 lands. Let's find a 5th land. Is this fine? Yes, this is fine. Wish I could do that this turn. But that guarantees me access to Avenging Hunter my following turn. So how many times, like, how quickly am I going to die? I guess I shouldn't technically F6 here, right? Like, I have a castable card. Deep analysis. I love this. That's going to be like card advantage and proliferators. So I don't know whether or not I need to be playing around counterspells or whatever here. I think I am just going to do this at sorcery speed here. Here we see the Khalni Garden paying off. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 mana next turn. I could just play another Crypt Rats here, but that's kind of awkward, assuming that I want to use Crypt Rats as a fireball at some point. I will just go ahead and deal my 1 point of damage. I will preemptively go ahead and play out a Blood Fountain. And I can use this blood token to loot away something that I don't like. All right, how bad is this going to be? Draw 3 cards, proliferate. Understood. This is cool. I am enjoying the fact that this is a thing. Sure. And I think at end of turn here, I'm just going to go ahead and loot through one of these removal spells. Probably a Chainer's Edict. That going to graveyard has some real upside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I can keep the treasure. I will probably want to keep the treasure. The treasure is just worth mana for Crypt Rats later. Let's hunt. Okay, cool. I have the initiative. I have plenty of black mana. I'm going to pick up an extra forest. I'll go ahead and call that a turn. My opponent's probably on like a 2-turn clock, right? Like, Forge, attack you for 8, that puts you to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Dead. Assuming my creatures connect next turn. It's all good. But I don't know how quickly this deck is going to accelerate into just murdering me. Like, the Pentad Prisms can probably go pretty silly. So for example, like my opponent can cast these essentially for free. The top 3 cards of your library, 1 in your hand, rest on bottom, proliferate. So any card of that nature that they can play that lets them proliferate like that for 2 or less mana, they can just play, and then the counters go back here. I am up to 6 poison counters. Okay, that's fine. It is another proliferate target for the future, though. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that would be a sideboard option, but apparently that's a main deck option. I mean, we're going to make my threat bigger, but I don't think I'm going to kill my opponent next turn anymore. They're at 31. Deal another 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, I need 2 more turns here, which is probably not happening. I also don't have a great way to spend my mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Laser my opponent for 5. I then can't play another Crypt Rat. But this may just be my most efficient turn. Oh, right. I can only spend black on this. I forgot about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Filter for a black. All right. X is 5. Now I can't make this tapped land. I'm dealing a good amount of damage. There's the flashback on Deep Analysis. I imagine that I die this turn. Okay, another Deep Analysis. I'm going to F6. I haven't seen a creature yet in the first half of their deck. That's 8. Flashback, Deep Analysis. Not very often you see a Pauper deck with 12 cards in hand the fair way. All right, there's a new land drop. Is that the draw 3? Yes. Well, I've lived to fight another day, but I don't think I can quite kill my opponent here. That puts my opponent to 15. I hit them down to 8. And I can only do 5 with Crypt Rats, which is tragic. Possible my opponent messes up and like flashes back a Deep Analysis, but you know. Okay, there's 9. Prism's fine. That doesn't kill me. Okay, there is the 10th and final point. I die to that. 3 points of damage short of the finish line. So basically my removal spells are not at a premium here. This one at least makes a token if I target my own stuff, but I don't really want that either. I have a lot of removal spells that aren't going to be good here. All right. Blow up a land. Blow up an artifact. Impact your hand or graveyard. I'm going to have to keep some of these removal spells. Am I playing this as a 5/5? I feel like I'm playing this as a 5/5. I keep this one, it makes a body sometimes, and then I pick 3 other removal spells to run. Probably the one that's free. Like the one that's free or the one that I can flash back if I randomly discard it with a blood token. I think the one that's free, but I don't know the opposing deck well enough. The other thing I could do is like run this as just a cycle 2 card. Honestly, maybe that's fine. Again, I don't know what my opponent's sideboard looks like. Like, I don't know if they're randomly going to board into some creatures or something. This is fine. I will keep this. I don't know if I'm supposed to duress on turn 1. I go ahead and poke my hole now. Oh man, my opponent has 2 different things that give me a poison counter. He's hoping to stop that first poison counter. I'm going to take one of those. It means leaving my opponent with... How many ETB tap lands? It means leaving my opponent with a removal spell for this Avenging Hunter. Is not, like, the greatest. But I think No, I didn't mess up, because if I draw another duress effect, I want to be able to take the prologue. Oh, they are island cycling this turn. Try one, draw a card. Not bad. I go ahead and discard a Khalni Garden, try to draw a duress effect. Failed. A little trouble with ETB tapped lands. Like, I have to play this to make my land drop. This is not necessarily how I want to be using my cards. Note that when this is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, I get to shuffle it back in, so I can potentially redraw it in matchups where that matters, but life gain's not super relevant here. Alright, let's get that out of hand. My opponent is just, like, not immediately going for giving me the poison counter. I guess they're rationalizing that they have the time to outweight me. Okay, there we go. I think I Deadly Dispute right now. Sacrifice a plant here. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 mana towards Avenging Hunter. I think I'm going to go ahead and loot here. Don't need a third Blood Fountain. A Spell Bomb. Alright. Now my opponent gets to start doing their thing. You know when you show up to an event and you've built your control deck and you've, like, predicted the metagame, and then in round 1 you get just paired against something crazy and none of your cards do anything? Kind of how I feel about this matchup. Like, I'm just very soft to the angle they are trying to attack from. They have a bunch of random draw 3s. They're playing Ancient Tombs and I'm not. Okay, cool. So I do get to take the initiative here, meaning that I get to pick up another land drop. My opponent can kill my creature, which makes me sad. I can buy it back with Blood Fountain. Oh, it's not like this game is going to be over in 3 turns like I would like it to be. And it may have been a mistake to just, like, not go after this card on turn 1. Like, I was trying to leave myself with a window to get both of these, because my opponent presumably doesn't have that many ways to give me the initial poison counter. We are going to go down the right side here, as I do not have a creature. The vault is not good. Playing this is probably worse than just buying. Oh my god, is that exile? Fuck. Exile. Can't rebuy my creature. In that case, this is probably an above average draw. Alright. 3 mana. Draw a card. Can't play this turn. Don't want to show this yet. Guess let's play some Elf Bread. Nope. Bottom that. I don't have a lot of time here. What is that? Each opponent gets a poison counter. Okay, I didn't see that in game 1. Okay, there's a deep analysis. I can snipe the backside of that with a Spell Bomb, which might be my play for the turn. Well, part of my play. Pick up some extra mana. I think I just start with a redraw. Hit a land drop. Play a Crypt Rats. Attack for 2. And I think I go ahead and use my treasure here for this, and then just exile that without trying to maximize my spell bomb value and draw a card. I think the 2 damage that I did with this turn is more valuable than an extra card to my hand. Like, I get to attack for 5, and then I can rip off Crypt Rats for X's 5. I have my opponent dead in 2 turns, right? Attack for 5, Attack for 9 plus Crypt Rats activate. That is lethal. But it feels kind of like my opponent should be able to kill me over the course of 2 turns. Okay, so there's another draw 2, lose 2. I get a poison counter. Okay. We've weathered the storm a bit. My opponent has to do 3 things next turn, which feels like they should be able to do. Alright, send them in for 5. Is there any reason why I should not play a large creature? I cannot think of one. Let's jam a creature here. Okay, there's a reason. They almost certainly should be dead now, right? Any other proliferate or poison counter spell kills me here. And sort of like last time, I end up 1 card short. Yeah. And I don't think casting the creature killed me. Like, my opponent still has 5 mana available plus 9 cards in hand. They can certainly cast another one. But I definitely was not playing around fuel for the cause. Ugh, GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is just the best place to host your online deck lists, and I don't think it's close. I think it's wonderfully organized, and you can have a great system of folders so that you can go through, separate your decks by whatever you want. I separate mine by format. I have just a few legacy decks, and Moxfield is able to keep track of all the decks that even someone like me makes, so please consider checking them out. All right, round 2. I think I'm going to keep my hand here. I require another land to operate on full cylinders, but like in theory, I have a turn 1, 2, and 3 play, and that's not necessarily something that is very frequently true in Pauper. Fantastic. Let's duress my opponent. Maybe we'll take a synthesizer or something. Ah, that is a lot of direct damage. Holy moly, that is a lot of direct damage. Do I still take the bread? Because like this plus Core Skyfisher is a combo, and like Galvanic Blast doing 2 to my face is not scary. It doing 4 to my face is, and this is an artifact. I think I am going to take the bread. Bread is going on the thumbnail of this video. Oh man, I wanted my opponent to play out Core Skyfisher, bounce a land, and then I edict them, and I get like way ahead in terms of tempo. This is 3 life for later. But this might just be a good turn to play my Golgari Rot farm. I'll float my mana, not that I intend to use it. And hopefully I don't just eat some random land destruction spell that punishes me for playing a bounce land. Okay, we're chilling, and I'm good with that because I have a lot of card advantage here. And I'm more scared of this game ending quickly than anything else here. Like, oh, nice. And another one. So, like, if my opponent uses a removal spell on this, like, I'm good with that. A Lightning Bolt over a Gallop Blast. They're saving these to try to do 4 damage with them much later on in the game. Is it time to become the pretty princess? I have a creature covered, including an invasive one. Evasive one. So yeah, I think it is. Gallop Blast is currently not online to take that out of play. Blood Fountain is a draw. I am hoping that we aren't at the point where... Okay, yeah, so there's the Skyfisher. And it's all good so far. So before I spend any mana on anything else, let's just make sure this thing leaves play. And it does. I think I want to play another creature. I'm going to go ahead and do that post-combat, though, not give my opponent the extra information. We'll see if they want to take out my 1/3. They do not, at least not immediately. And let's play another cantripping creature. And draw a card for being the pretty princess. I don't currently have a removal spell in hand for another creature that my opponent plays out. Okay, sure. But it seems like that's okay. Got a Chainer's Edict coming up in the not too distant future. I play tapped Khalni Garden. I've already kind of got things going for that as soon as next turn. I think we're going to go ahead and play the plant. I think I am okay with just doing this immediately. All right, there's a cool removal spell. Play some elf bread. Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm actually gonna have to discard some cards this turn. Unless... actually, if I do my cute play, Galv Blast can kill this. I guess I don't do my cute play. I can get rid of a Blood Fountain and one fungal infection, I suppose. Okay, yeah, we're chilling. I'm drawing so many cards. Yeah, oddly, mana is kind of my bottleneck here. I wouldn't expect to be saying... I probably should have tapped Rot Farm there. All right. Play that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll end up going to 9. Or sorry, to 8 end of turn. And I draw my Monarch card. I'm going to just get rid of a Rot Farm. Untapped lands sound good here. And I can use some extra mana to gain some life. My opponent has flooded out just so hard here. Alright. Elf Bread goes back in the deck. I gain some life. Cool, cool. Yeah, we'll start sending some creatures in. And I'm fine with playing out a Crypt Rats here. I'm good with my opponent pointing a removal spell at that. I'm just going to hold up some extra mana rather than playing out Blood Fountain here. It's under 0 pressure here. So I don't think I need to. Alright. 1 damage, each up to 2 target creatures. Do I want to convert you into a Saproling? That sounds fine. Cast from the Fire seems good. Or maybe I just let that die, play out Blood Fountain, bracket, replay it. Yeah, that's equally fine. Alright, opponent goes to 11. Play Blood Fountain. Turn Crypt Rats and Visionary. Maybe better to just like safely hold Crypt Rats in my hand. Just continue to play hand tripping cards here. Yeah, this is fine. I am in such dominant control of this game that I don't even need to play cards, which is telling. This is kind of how I imagined this deck playing out. Yeah, bounce one of your permanents. That's fine. Get Snuff Outed. I'll bash in for attempting 5 points of damage. That's not actually going to happen. Sure. Also fine. Yeah, so my opponent is down to 0 cards. I'm the Monarch. I get to play a Crypt Rats. I can fire that off for nearly lethal damage. Play a tapped land here. Play a Blood Fountain. Bracket. Return a couple cards to hand. Draw extra cards. This is just gross, honestly. You can have a Thraben Inspector. Absolutely. Yep. Draw your card. Synthesizer's good. Yeah, so they can get another try by cracking it. Extra lands. Not what my opponent is looking for right now. I'm going to go ahead and just make a Saproling here. I imagine my opponent is just dead this turn. So let's cast down one of these. Edict another one. My opponent for 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go ahead and end this game. That was a absolutely disgusting game in my advantage. My fungal infections aren't the best here. My opponent's creatures have 2 toughness. I'll probably play these as some extra top end. I don't know how much more stuff I'm interested beyond that. Like, I can de-glamour some things that my opponent is bouncing, but it kind of feels like the game 1 plan was about where I need to be. So this is a little extra top end insurance. I can play another Duress to try to take the things that my opponent would bounce and take some of their burn spells. I don't hate that. Angren Marauder at 5 toughness in particular is kind of a sweet spot. It's going to dodge the 4 damage removal cards. Alright, how do I get this Duress in there? Or do I just play 2? Like, the Duress was game winning. No, literally no exaggeration, it was game winning. Maybe I go down one of these? Not sure exactly. This is a 1-lander, so I will just auto-mulligan that. This is perfectly fine. I'm pretty far away from the 6-mana card right now. Okay, tapped land is fine. I'm going to play Swamp on turn 1 so that I can immediately snuff out. And we'll drop this into play as well. Alright, my opponent has a thing that they can bounce with a Core Skyfisher now. Visionaries are fine. I don't think I'm interested in looting away any of my cards as of right now. Like, they feel quite good. Yes. Lightning Bolt is fine. Like, things that aren't permanents are perfectly okay with me. Bog. Bog's not great. I was hoping for an untapped land so that I can just play this next turn. One of the Black Rose, like, as you saw how last game went, is very good as well. Might need to snuff that out. I don't really want to. It's not a very good creature. But if I'm looking to play this Monarch game and this Initiative game, it might just need to happen. If I do it now, I can Bojuka Bog this. I think I'd rather wait, though. Not let my opponent know that I have that removal spell. And just go ahead and make my land drop. And try to get them to put resources towards getting in this turn, only to realize that that's not going to happen. Red is fine. That gets scryed to the top. Yep. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. I want those resources going towards my stuff and like make my opponent spend mana on that, and then I get them with the snuff out and protect my stuff. Makeshift munitions is very good, but I am hoping to have both the Monarch and the Initiative simultaneously, which is honestly kind of a pain in the butt. Pick up a Swamp, a Khalni Garden turn. No, I think this is a Rot Farm turn. Bounce a Forest. Painter's Edict is okay. So my opponent has onboard resources that can potentially deal with my stuff. We'll kind of see how things go here. Relic's not a problem. Like, it technically does things versus my Blood Fountain. So it's not like it does nothing, but... what does this get to blow up? Okay, they're going to exile that from the graveyard. This is fine. So the big win for me here is that I get to put Forge counters on Avenging Hunter. Cool. So let's blow up a creature. Edict another creature. I play a Crypt Rats this turn. Doesn't seem great just playing it into that. I'm going to go ahead and just drop Khalni Garden here. That was a mistake. I should have looted first. I know I don't want that forest. Let's hit in for 9. Draw an extra card. I still have a Snuff Out here, so I'm not going to lose the Monarch and the Initiative. Glinthawk is fine. I assume bouncing a bread. Oh, right, bouncing a synthesizer. Ooh, okay, this one's newish. It's +1/+1, sure. Was the second synthesizer fine? Okay, it finds a Glinthawk. That's very cute. I do have Crypt Rats in hand, though, which just gets to clear both of these creatures. All right, we are on a lot of copies of those. Sure. Oh, what does the Formyrden do? Oh, cool. So it just comes with a body. That's quite good. The 2-mana 3/1 that can get attached to Glinthawks later. These Crypt Rats are about to look very dumb. Yeah, absolutely. My opponent has tapped out to do that, which I imagine means they are dead. Haven't mathed it out, don't think I need to. Alright, Trap puts my opponent to 5. Make a land drop. Make a Crypt Rats. And deal 4 damage to everything. Wipe the board. And then attack in for 7. That was disgusting. Wow, this deck felt good. GG's. Okay, I am a mana short of having a pretty reasonable hand. It feels like this is a hand where if I get paired against a red deck, I just get run over before I get established a lot of the times. But like this combo is very silly. I'm going to keep this and kind of hope that things work out in my favor. I do get a blood token to loot through a card, and like the Llanowar Visionary is very good if I can manage to play that. X-proof. We will be discarding Spinning Darkness here. Okay, Garden is good. So the good news is I have Crypt Rats as a way to get around Hexproof. The bad news is that my opponent's creature could be dummy thick by the time next turn gets around. All right, 3/3. Okay, this is fine. I don't think I cash this in for 3 life here. I think I try to greed it up and block it next turn. It's possible that's wrong, but it's what I'm going for. All right. Got a Crypt Rats in play. It currently answers the hexproof threat on the other side of the table. Okay. Everything's fine. Everything is now not fine. This is now trampling. How am I going to get to 5 mana before dying? Playing Llanowar Visionary is the answer. Do I now cash this in for 2 life? I had the chance to cash it in for 3 last turn. Trample happened, which ruined that. I think I do. My life total is very precious. There's 2 ETB tapped lands here. I can... don't have the Death Toucher this turn, so I can start on the thing that cantrips. Okay. Okay, this is looking all right. Let's play another thing that can help protect my life total. If I can trade with this in combat, I can then edict this. Fuck. 16-14 on turn 4. Not a lot to be done about that. It tramples. So I am deterministically dead, unfortunately. What do I have to help here? Duress is reasonable. This hits enchantments, right? This does hit enchantments. Suffocating Fumes can kill some of their stuff. Rancid Earth is playable. I don't know that I actually want Weather the Storm. So I need to keep a little bit of targeted removal, because there are things like, what's the pupper's name? Spirited Companion that I could have to deal with. So I have 4 Edicts plus Crypt Rats, plus these to deal with my opponent's stuff. I think I still like Snuff Out, despite the fact that it costs me life, because if my opponent does play an enchantment on something like a Spirited Companion, I can snipe that while still tapping out to play other cards. When I'm on the play, I think Rancid Earth is also playable. The threshold portion probably doesn't matter / happen most games, but just like being on the play and blowing up a land that has a mana enchantment on it is reasonable. Like I might be willing to do something like this to try Rancid Earth when I'm on the play. This has an Edict, which I think just means I keep the hand, just full stop. Let's make a plant. So there is some debate about whether or not I even cast the Chainer's Edict this turn. I think I just do. Like, I can try to wait till it gets suited up and it's larger. The problem with that being that if my opponent just like plays 1 enchantment on it and then a second creature, my Edict doesn't get the critical creature anymore. And I think I just use this as a stopgap to get my Ripped Rats into play successfully. Okay. Yes, this is fine. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and play Ripped Rats and call it a turn. I think getting the active Swamp into play is pretty important. It's possible that I should just play the Crystal Grotto this turn, but I don't know what I need yet. Like, it's possible Crypt Rats is enough to handle this creature, but like, it could become giant and get out of Crypt Rat's range, and if that's the case, then I need to start aggressively looking for an Edict. Okay, sure. Oh, okay, that could have been so much worse. So we'll just absorb here and start with a scry. Or is this a bounce land turn? I think I'm gonna start with a scry. A little awkward for me to use that. I'm going to bottom that. Go ahead and poke my opponent for 3. And then I think so no Trixies happen. I filter through Grotto. And just go ahead and nuke my opponent's creature now. Okay, Commune's fine. Finding Rancor. Alright. New hexproof creature has been acquired. The one that makes a soldier, or no, warrior, sure. So I can snuff that out if I end up needing to. Let's go ahead, draw a card here. 7. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to bounce a Khalni Garden. I think I do. So, like, if I bounce the Khalni Garden, my sack a creature, draw 2 things, becomes stronger. And also just gives me a little bit of wiggle room. This is a bit of a problem. It does have first strike, so it's coming through. Got ways to get rid of it right now. Okay. Not a card I expected to see today. So my plan is Chainer's Edict this away. Do I double Snuff Out? Just Snuff Out, Edict right now. I think I do. Ow. Okay. Okay. Goodbye, Falcon. Edict you. Take out that creature. I am running on empty. But hopefully my opponent is too. And I am the control deck. I'm at the point where I've turned the corner. My things can be very good. This will be the point where I start seeing whether or not my decision to bounce Khalni Garden versus Crystal Grotto ended up being a good idea. No, it's another dude. No. That one's a lady, actually. Okay. I have a plan. I don't know that the plan is good, but I now, at least in theory, have something that can potentially challenge my opponent's stuff. Do I attack? I think no. My life total is very precious right now. Fuck. Okay, yeah. Alright, so that is a 5-1. Cannot let my opponent take the initiative. Probably means blocking like this and keeping this body. Do I block with one more creature to play around some sort of removal spell? Yes. I just cannot lose the initiative here. Okay, this is fine. Notably, I can block with Avenging Hunter and Llanowar Visionary to only lose one body. Gosh, it just keeps coming. So with my opponent having another Rancor, that creature will beat a 4/4 if I forge. So I think I am scrying 2 here. Yeah. Yeah, this is fine. I think I put the Edict below and draw and use Crypt Rats this turn. Yeah, so play a Crypt Rats, crack a Crypt Rats for 1, play a Rot Farm. I bounce my Scry land at this point over Khalni Garden, I think. Hit my opponent for 2. I have essentially 2 more creatures covered with the things on top of my library. Okay, my opponent's willing to call it there. That game's not over, but I am incredibly favored at that point. On the draw, I'm not really a fan of Rancid Earth anymore. I'm going to bring in a couple more cast downs for things like a Falcon? And maybe play 1 Spinning Darkness? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Blood Fountain's also really slow as card advantage here. Not that this is much faster. Yeah, I like this hand just fine. I will be keeping it. Double tapped land is a little bit awkward. If I need to curve Duress into Chainer's Edict, I can't do that right now. Alright, there's a little friend. How do I want to do this? I think I duress so that I can take out one of the enchantments that makes an extra body with it, so my multiple Chainer's Edicts end up being good in this game. But this mana combination is definitely awkward. All right. Abundant Growth does not produce extra mana. Okay. I think I take the Ethereal Armor. I think I could talk about that decision for a very long time, though. My opponent will Abundant Growth this thing. I think taking the Ethereal Armor just, like, guarantees that I don't get run over before I get a chance to do my thing, which I think is what I care about the most right now. Holy shit. Okay. I'll go ahead and play a Rot Farm. Bounce my Vault. So my opponent will get to smack me pretty good with Ancestral Mask if they draw a land. But then in theory, I think I'm stable and I expect to win the game from here. Alright, so Edict you. Unfortunately, that Rancor kind of gets to dodge Bojuka Bog. There's not a way to make that work out the way that I want. And we've got future creatures covered. There's 2+1/+1 counters as a sorcery. Do I want to play out Crypt Rats this turn? I do. We'll just have that threat. Play another Rot Farm. Bounce Bojuka Bog. It's a little awkward to be bouncing ETB tapped lands, but I'm hoping that's fine. With multiple Chainer's Edict and like me being about to take the initiative, I think everything is a-okay here. Okay, yeah, good stuff. Do a little Rat Punchy and take the initiative. We'll just pick up a Swamp, as that does matter for the purposes of Snuff Out. And I think if these Forge counters go on Avenging Hunter without my opponent putting up any fight, that is the end of the game. Okay, and we get there on the match. GG's, we're now 2-1. Alrighty. Round 4. I would say my hand's not the best, but I, generally speaking, try not to mulligan very much in Pauper. Okay. That thing will probably be worth snuffing out. What I don't know is when I do that. I guess I can duress and find out. This is a good draw. If I duress off Swamp, I can still snuff out if I need to. Yeah, I was thinking about this card because I played this in Limited. So that makes me want to snuff out at sorcery speed. Bushwhacker as well. So I am currently not suited towards beating a go wide strategy, especially if it features, oh, that art's dope. If it features Bushwhacker follow-up. I think I go ahead and go for Kuldiltha Rebirth and sorcery speed snuff this out. The Bushwhacker is innately an X1, so I can kill that with Fungal Infection. That is a different mountain than the one that they had in hand. I, in theory, want to leave up Fungal Infection. I also really want to get Rot Farm out of the way. That allows me to make more untapped land drops in the future. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way, despite the fact that it's awkward. You don't appreciate how good the mana fixing in Legacy is until you play, that is the correct mountain. So you play a format that doesn't quite have the same caliber of removal. Sorry, of interaction. Of mana fixing, sorry. Dreams got crossed while I was talking there. Okay, I think I'm just going to tap Khalni Garden here and make my plant. My opponent probably doesn't spend a card getting that plant out of the way. Okay, sure. This game is slow. Is it bounce my Khalni Garden slow? Seems like it is. All right. We're just gonna wiggle our butt a little bit, settle in for a grindy game. Okay. This is where my opponent can start pulling ahead. Don't have Metalcraft yet. Yes. Then they'll kick the Bushwhacker. Oh no, they're gonna Galv Blast me. Sure. Am I fine with just gaining 2 life here? I think so. Just given the caliber of cards in my hand, I just need to stay alive. I'm getting pretty close to just hard casting these copies of Spinning Darkness. And a decent sized Crypt Rats is on the menu as well. Yeah, I think I'm just going to use this as a small life gain spell and call it a turn. I'm going to need to try to cast Spinning Darkness around Improvised Club. It's a little awkward. It might not be bad if my opponent uses their synthesizer to try to like hit a land drop or otherwise find things to play in this turn cycle. I'm going to definitely appreciate copies of Lembas. Is 1 damage to a creature? No, player or planeswalker, sure. Okay. Block for 2 life here. And I'm sitting here thinking about Spinning Darkness. I think I've got a plan regarding that. I think I go ahead and just cast 1. And this is my Black Lightning Helix. And now I have 3 things in graveyard. I can cast this by exiling the top 3 of my graveyard. And I do that around Improvised Club, because missing out on that life gain would super suck. So, oh, nice. So my opponent, oh, this is a lot of damage though. Like I've got Crypt Rats to cover this, so this is not like the end of the world, but it is a little sad for me. Club's a little annoying here. I'm gonna go ahead and play a Crypt Rats. I'm going to do this for X equals 1. I don't play Khalni Garden now. I'll play a different land. So I'm going to wait to do this. I get punished if my opponent has drawn an extra Improvised Club. But by waiting, I play around another haste thing, like another Goblin Bushwhacker. We will just activate this for X is 1. My opponent will club me. So even after is menace as long as you sacrifice a permanent this turn. Okay. Honestly, great timing. Let's go ahead and do this. I think I would like to try to do better than that. Vault of Whispers is not better than that. I guess let's go ahead and Sorcery Speed, gain some life. Throw that back into the deck. Drop a Garden. Fungal Infection not looking fantastic here. But it does save me a point of life this turn. I guess I still block this in case there's some random pump spell. Blood Fountain. We'll take that. I think I'm actually most interested in the blood token here. Like looting one of these lands into something else is very strong right now. Let's just immediately crack that with a floating mana, getting rid of a forest. Another rot farm. Do I do this to bring back Crypt Rats immediately? I don't think so. May get punished for that decision, but I am not immediately threatened. I'm not going to attack. I'm going to leave blockers back just in case. I can still bring Crypt Rats back at end of turn if I need to. I am okay with a block for 1 life. Every single point of life is precious when I know one of my opponent's cards is a Lightning Bolt. And I'm going to try to do better with this Blood Fountain. Edict. Edict is fine. Awkward in the face of an Improvised Club again. But that didn't happen. Got a garden with 1 creature back. I'm okay with a love tap here. And we'll see whether or not playing patiently with Blood Fountain ends up being good. I'm just so far away from ending this game. I have so much mana that I don't really want to like avoid giving myself a 2-for-1 when I have the opportunity to, especially since activating Crypt Rats right now is like a scary thing. But it's possible that just sitting it in play so that I can't get got by Kuldotha Rebirth into another Bushwhacker. It's like a thing that I need to be doing. But we'll get our little hits in and continue to make land drops. My opponent also may just accrue lethal amounts of burn in their hand and just fire off 9 at me. Like, that is very much a thing that I need to be afraid of happening. Alright. A little bit of damage. Make a plant friend, call it a turn. Okay, it's just a land drop. Okay, here we go. Let's chain some cards together, shall we? Alright, good stuff. Yes. This is a pretty ideal draw. I think I just bottom that. I'm looking for a way to end this game. I guess I don't do this now. I just do this in response. Right, like I do it in my opponent's upkeep or something like that. Or in response to a burn spell going on the stack. I can play out a land. I just don't want to, like, fire this off and get burnt out in response. So I guess before my opponent draws any more cards is, I guess, the optimal time. If they had lethal in hand, they would have just fired it off in response to me casting that. Alright. I am at a slightly safer life total now. Alright. Galv Blast me with Metalcraft. I'm at 8. I am at 4. Alright, there's 3 goblins. You have a Bushwhacker as well. Blast Runner, that's fine. None of that has haste. However, I cannot crack Crypt Rats because doing Crypt Rats for X is 1 puts me in Lightning Bolt range. If I miss on my draw, I might have to just Blood Fountain and play Crypt Rats anyway. But I think I have enough mana that I can wait on that decision. Okay, cool. Let's do this. 7 mana, make you sacrifice a thing. I can cast down, destroy a Blast Runner on their turn. I don't think I need to Blood Fountain immediately. And I'd like to hold 1 land if possible for a blood token off another Blood Fountain. But I think I'm going to pump the brakes on my attacks for right now. I want more Elf Bread. I just want to, like, scry, draw some cards, and get out of improvised club range. Damn it. Yeah. There's nothing I can do about that. Ugh. We put up a good fight. That was a slog. Alright. Duress is reasonable. Weather the Storms are good. Humes is okay. I don't know about Threshold for Rancid Earth. Spinning Darkness also eats at my graveyard, so that's a thing to think about. I'm not the biggest fan of Fungal Infection. It misses all of my opponent's X2 creatures, and doing one of these for 2/3 of a Kuldotha Rebirth doesn't seem like the best. I probably cut a Blood Fountain here. The initiative is very scary. My opponent has, like, haste creatures and things that go wide. He might get rid of these and just play Fangren Marauders. Like, I can do this, this. This would still require 2 cuts. Is this Ignore the Monarch matchup? So good to be the Monarch. I don't know, Reckoner's Bargain, despite the fact that it does say, like, gain life. I'm usually sacrificing a 0-cost thing. This might be slow here. And at the end of the day, this is 10 creatures if I make some cuts. Okay, let's maybe do something like this and see how this feels. This is fine. I would say unexciting, but fine. I'm definitely worried about just getting run over by a Kuldotha Rebirth start and just, like, not being able to do anything about it. But if we settle into a longer game, like, I think I'm okay with how things look. I think I'm just going to pass the turn with mana available rather than destroying this at sorcery speed. I think I'm just willing to take 1 damage to potentially have a cool Weather the Storm turn if my opponent does something flashy. Yep. There's a little bit of damage. Yeah, that's fine. And we'll go ahead and Weather the Storm, gain 9 life. I think because of Improvised Club, this time I will go ahead and just cast down at sorcery speed. We'll go ahead and bog my opponent's stuff out of there. I have Spinning Darkness, which needs more black cards in my graveyard. I'm not too far away from it. Okay, yep, this is fine. I'm probably blocking with my plant this turn. I think 2 life is perfectly reasonable here. And while Improvised Club is not up, I think we're going to go ahead and... Oh, no. Cannot tap like that. Go ahead and do some crowd control. Take out the Swift Spear. And just gain a little life. Like, I can try to get greedier and get a little more life out of Weather the Storm. But if I do that, I threaten running into Improvised Club. Ooh. Yep. 6 damage. Not the best for me. I only have 2 black cards in graveyards. I have no available play for this turn. Spinning Darkness next turn is okay. I'm going to need a way to stabilize the board, though. I don't have that yet. Spinning Darkness helps, but if I just get attacked, you know, repeatedly forever, it's not great. I will be hard casting a Spinning Darkness this turn. I'm going to hope to find a window where I can just do it. It's like, do I give them more looks at Improvised Club by letting them draw, or do I play into it? I think I give them an extra thing, an extra draw towards it. Randomly against the creatures that my opponent has on board right now. Fungal Infection looks good, but there's a large number of X2 creatures where that's not the case. I am going to still just attempt this here. I think I have to cast my spells as I have the ability to. Take a little bit of chip damage and hope to find something else to do. Rebirth is good. Snuff Out is not. I'm gonna bounce my garden. So I think I am dead to this unless I find a sweeper, so I am not going to cast Snuff Out yet. I think this is fully just, I need a sweeper, I need to find a rats or something, or I am losing this game, even if I answer individual bodies. So we're chilling. I'll probably end up taking 2 or 3 extra points of damage for not casting Snuff Out, but I think it will leave me in a much better spot. I'm not going to block with the plant yet. Take the damage. It still has 5 cards in hand, which is terrifying. All right, we're making plants. All right. I'm probably now at the point where I do trade a singular plant for a point of life. It doesn't feel good. My opponent, like, damn it, is very cognizant of the fact that they're supposed to be playing around sweepers here. It's very unfortunate for me. I'll trade the plant for 1 more life again. I am going to stay on the logic that I don't win this game unless I draw a sweeper and not remove one of these 1/1s with Snuff Out. Alright, Gal Blessed. That leaves me dead. My opponent wins the match. Visionary would have drawn me into Crypt Rats. So if I snuff out one of these the first turn that it's available, I potentially get to this draw, but I still probably end up losing to that Galv Blast or the other 4 cards in my opponent's hand. GG. Okay, we have a reasonable keep here. I get to lead on a duress on turn 1 and figure out what my opponent is playing. A different version of the same thing that we just saw. I think we're going for the synthesizer since it also comes with a body. I have a little bit of a way to gain some life here, but I do miss out on playing a turn 2 card because of my mana fixing here, and I also momentarily drop Snuff Out, but I don't think that's a problem. I am hoping that this game goes on long enough that I can just cast Snuff Out as a legit card, so I think I just Edict here. Do I want a 1/1 on board? I don't think that matters. I am just going to play this and hold up this spell. Swift Spear is fine. Okay, sure. We are doing that over Reckless Impulse Fire Blast. Okay. So I cannot hard cast a Snuff Out next turn, guaranteed. So this will be worth the 4 life to do. Again, I don't think I'm going to go for just generating a 1/1 here. I don't think I need to gain this life immediately. Get a body onto the board, go a little deeper in the deck. Third Rot Farm. That is some card advantage. I momentarily drop Snuff Out again. And I will keep momentarily dropping that. Okay, so my opponent gets to do some serious damage to me here. Alright, there's the Reckless Impulse. But I will get to just hard cast this Snuff Out. Opponent's deciding whether or not. Yep. That's just 5 damage at the cost of 2 of their lands. I think you just have to take that. That's fine. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana available this turn. I think I am using all of it. So let's go ahead and snipe that. Play an untapped land. Drop this. Spinning Darkness. I don't need the 4th Rot Farm. Spinning Darkness is a card that I would like to see a lot here. Okay, sure. This one at least has, kind of effective summoning sickness here. So I don't get dealt damage by it this turn, which is nice. But I'm not very fast at closing the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't have an untapped land to kill this immediately. Need 7 mana for my Chainer's Edict. I think I am on Visionary to attempt to draw a card to find an answer to that. Did not. Okay, I've got a cheeky line. Let's see if my opponent blocks. They did not. Okay. In which case, I probably need to gain this life. Going back up to 10. Third Rot Farm. Bounce Swamp. And we'll see how bad this turn gets. So I'm at 9. And my opponent gets to play a bunch of things and continue to ping me here. Ooh. Is this a sorcery? This is a sorcery. Kessig Flamebreaker next turn is a problem. I can Chainer's Edict it later. But I probably need to Chainer's Edict this thing now. And maybe hopefully draw a card off Monarch to answer the other one. Alright. Edict you. I don't get pinged? Don't get pinged. I don't think that was summoning sick or anything. That just feels like an error. Alright, so there's the Flame Breather. I end up taking 2 total from that. Then that Chain Lightning happens. Take 4 from that, and I pretty much go into dead to a burn spell range. Spinning Darkness is so good here. I kind of have a redraw. I get to scry. Another Thorn of the Black Rose is not what I want. I will bottom that. I will play a Thorn of the Black Rose. I will attack in with both of these creatures, hoping that my opponent will block one of them. They don't. I need a removal spell right here. Spinning Darkness is ideal. Oh man, that is 1 card off. Like if that was 1 card earlier, it's so good for me. Uh-huh. Okay, I'm not dead yet. Not dead yet. Let's attempt to play some bread. Yes. We'll put that on top. We will draw that. I will play a new copy of that. Deadly Dispute. My mana's pretty tight right now. I'm going to bottom that despite the fact that that card is good. Let's attempt to gain some life here. Alright, I've successfully gained some life. Cannot let my opponent become the Monarch. I also need to keep attacking, though. I think I'm going to play a little conservatively here. At 9. I can attack with one of these, and then play Khalni Garden. That seems okay. Yes, this is fine. I'll deal 2 damage to one of those. The one that I dealt 2 damage to. Oh fuck, I'm supposed to play the land pre-combat. Just save that body. Alright, so now I'll kill that one. Draw an extra card here. Okay. I messed that up a little bit. But we'll see if I'm in a good enough spot that I've stabilized. Improvised club is scary. My opponent just gets to sack their great furnace and put me in a bad spot. Okay. Chainer's Edict is very good here. I will go ahead and cast that. My opponent can club me. Yep. I go to 4. I will go ahead and attack my opponent. Put them to 6. I will generate a Khalni Garden for an additional blocker. Play a Crypt Rats. And I have to hope not to die to something like a Fire Blast. Do I Deadly Dispute right now? I think no. Okay, I made some small missteps there, but managed to pull that together. That was game 1? That was game 1. Okay. So, Weather the Storm looks great. Duress is fine. Not interested in Rancid Earth against this build. Same with Suffocating Fumes. Marauders are some okay endgame stuff. Fungal Infection did not look particularly strong there. My opponent's a little burn heavier this time. I might keep Reckoner's Bargain. Like if my opponent goes for broke trying to kill me and I Reckoner's Bargain and gain a respectable amount of life, that's actively good. Blood Fountain is kind of slow here. My opponent's less good at taking the initiative though, so like maybe Avenging Hunter is fine. Blood Fountain is like not dead, but incredibly slow here. The Blood Fountains become those. And then it's just like, do I want Fangren Marauder? Like, it makes my Lembas even better than normal. Beyond that, I've got a couple of treasure tokens. Maybe I don't take it on the draw. Crypt Rats isn't amazing. Yeah, Crypt Rats is not amazing. Like, if I pay 3 life to get rid of one of those pingers, like, it's worth it. But if it's 3 life that also, like, takes my Llanowar Visionaries with it, it's not the best. And tapping out for Crypt Rats means I'm not holding up Weather the Storm. Okay. This is fine. I don't love the fact that I'm on the draw here. I don't love the fact that my turn 2 ETB land is tapped, but I think this is still worth keeping. Very good. And now I at least have the option to play a turn 2 Chainer's Edict if my opponent plays out a creature. Okay. This is until the end of turn? This is until end of turn. They just miss out on the front half there. This is a slightly awkward turn, because I have 8 cards in hand right now, so if I just play Golgari Rot Farm like I want to, so that I can cast this next turn, I actually have to discard a card. I am going to do that. I'm not the happiest about it, but I think I just need to like have a better ability to curve out. I don't have the mana for Deadly Dispute right now. And I think I have enough alternative forms of card advantage in this hand where I don't need it. Okay, that one is until the end of your next turn. Plus, it's a black card in graveyard for Spinning Darkness if I were to draw that. I get to play this Visionary. Have some great options available to me for future turns. Like, I have ways to control the creatures that my opponent plays. And so, like, I know their hand is full of gas because they missed their turn 2 land drop. But hopefully I can just control the board for a couple of turns, drop an initiative card, and just, like, easily take over the game. Or alternatively, a Monarch card. Like, initiative is better in my mind, it just ends the game. Okay. So here we go. We'll see how bad this ends up being. My opponent got a 2 red mana, draw 2, and that was that. So let's go ahead and do the Sorcery Speed Edict now. It occurred. I think I just continue to develop here. Getting more mana, hitting additional land drops is really good. Don't mind that as a draw. That is castable as of next turn, and my opponent does have an artifact on board. Another artifact on board. Searing Blaze is good. That is a lot of value for my opponent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just drop the Marauder now. Before my opponent has a chance to crack these. That sounds very good to me. And then we can play a broken card with a commander mechanic on it and go from there. Okay, new Reckless Impulse. That's fine. Swift Spear's fine. That's fine. I've got all this stuff covered, which feels very good to say. I only have 6 mana this turn. Hopefully that's fine. So let's cast down this one. This is just a scary amount of value. I think I am willing to go ahead and play this game, especially with a second one in hand. I have Spinning Darkness as well. Bounce a land here. Casting Spinning Darkness gives up Chainer's Edict. I think that's fine. Let's just gain some life, crash in for 5, and attempt to be the beatdown here. I get to draw a card, then I can like do some initiative stuff. Snuff Out is live if I draw one. Yep, so this is fine. Okay. Sure. Then my opponent can bolt my creature, and then I will just end up taking the Monarch back. That's fine. Like, that's good for them. The extra card draw is obviously very strong, but like I'm the aggro deck right now. I'm the person with 7 power on board, and they can't super crack their synthesizers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can play this and this in this turn cycle while attacking for 7. That seems fine. Let's get in there. Again, we're trying to end this game. All right. I am the Monarch. It's possible just playing Avenging Hunter is better here, but I get to play out 2 bodies if I do things this way. All right, there's some bonus life gain. Improvised Club is fine. That will gain me 5 life, which is okay. And again, I am the beatdown right now. My opponent can Searing Blaze my Crypt Rats, so that they can get in and become the Monarch and draw another card, but they are still just taking 7 on the backswing, which is not really sustainable. Okay, yep, this is all fine. Yep. Draw your card. That's interesting. Turn's surprisingly hard to play. I think it's pre-combat. Chainer's Edict. To see which one of these my opponent keeps. Keeping the one with Defender in a Monarch game is scary. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and attempt to attack my opponent for 7 and then play Avenging Hunter. Alright, my opponent's at 1. I become the Monarch. And then I will introduce the initiative to the game as well. Grab a basic. Make it as my land drop. Draw a card. Another Chainer's Edict is great. My opponent is facing down 3 different lethal cards. Yep, Improvised Club is fine. That's another 5 life for me. Yep. And the Festivities is fine. Yeah, so like my opponent can take these mechanics, but there's 2 lethal threats here in play. Not to mention that I can just take the initiative back again, either via combat or by playing Avenging Hunter. I'm not sure that my opponent can attack. Okay, they're going deeper. I've gained so much life off this Fangren Marauder. That's either 15 or 20. Okay, sure. Alright, yeah. Yeah, so I will play a Chainer's Edict. Another body from my opponent is a little annoying. Chain Lightning is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really want 9 mana this turn. This is fine though. I will go ahead and attack. Force the jump block. Post combat. Go ahead and take out my opponent's remaining creature. I'll go ahead and take the initiative. I'll go to Forge. And I will make the Avenging Hunter bigger. That way I have 2 creatures which are both outside of singular lightning bolt range. Yep, so neither one of these gets fire blasted. My opponent is dead if they do not do something about trap. Okay, Searing Blaze plus a Fire Blast will definitely do it. Yep, that's fine. My opponent is desperately clinging to life here. They can chump block. Wow. They can chump block with Thermo Alchemist to not lose the initiative or whatever, but like I've got a Scry 2 from my Elf Bread. I've also just have Chainer's Edict chilling in my graveyard. So we'll see where this goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm in this awkward spot again where I can cast these Chainer's Edicts, but then I can't do other stuff. I think I am supposed to just look for a kill. Khalni Garden is not a kill. We'll bottom that. I brick, which means that I can't Chainer's Edict this turn. Wait, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can. I get to do that post-combat. Alright, my opponent gets to hold Monarch and Initiative, though. Which is not the best for me. Oh well. I'm just kind of hoping that I overwhelm them eventually. The extra cards my opponent's drawing are definitely adding up. I guess I technically could die from my current life total if my opponent just has an insane series of hits. Alright, but I didn't, and we go ahead and go positive in this league with a 3-2 finish. That was fun. Alright, so let's give some thoughts about this deck and about Pauper. I guess in regards to this deck specifically, Lembas was really good. Like, I wanted to draw this card every time I was playing against these mono-red decks, and as you saw, there's multiple different mono-red versions in the format. My deck is a little slow, so the fact that this life gain isn't on ETB is definitely noticeable, but so is the fact that this just shuffles back into your deck, and for the cost of a couple of slots in your deck list, this can gain you a surprising amount of life in a prolonged, like, kind of knockdown, drag-out fight. Let's look at the deck here for a second. So, like, when I have the Lembas coupled with Spinning Darkness as, like, a source of a little bit of life gain, like, that little bit is often enough to give me that extra Crypt Rats activation, or, like, to let me weather the storm to the point where I can stabilize. Like, I very much enjoyed the play patterns of this deck, and, like, I enjoyed this league very much. And that has not been the case the last couple of times that I have played Pauper. I like this deck. This feels good. I felt like I was playing reasonable Magic in most of my rounds where my decisions did matter. And like I had room to misplay, my opponents had room to misplay, and like we did have a lot of that back and forth, even in the faster matchups. I don't know that this deck list is 100% perfect or everything, and I am still, you know, a little wary of just getting run over and constantly playing against assorted mono-red decks. But I will tentatively give Pauper a thumbs up right now. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you end up wanting to buy any of these cards, remember my sponsor, Cool Stuff Inc. is a great place to shop, and promo code ThrabenU will save you 5%. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya!